Hello. In this lecture actually we are going to discuss that what are the advantages if you are going to do the coating of microcapsules rather than the other conventional methods. So, we keep the title like this, advantages of microencapsulations over the conventional methods. So, in this particular case just before going to start the lecture into detail, we are going to give you some kind of overview that what we have discussed in our earlier lectures and what we are going to do. So, here first we have shown some kind of conventional coatings. This is the normal conventional coatings by which we can do the modifications of our surface or maybe the substrate. So, here from this particular figure you can understand that we are having some kind of conventional coatings, some horizontal colloid mills, some vertical colloid mills, some kind of steering, either it is magnetic stirrer or maybe some kind of mechanical steering process. So, factors which governs the coatings are mainly consistency of the coating medium, which may be in the form of a liquid, paste, salt, powder, granulate or maybe the foam. So, any kind of particles in any other forms you can use, you can do the coatings, whether that particle will simply stuck onto the substrate itself or maybe it will deposit onto the substrate itself, it will make a film onto the substrate itself or maybe as a powder form it can stick with the substrate itself. We can do any kind of coating by these conventional methods. Thickness of the coating, structure and the mechanical behavior of the materials. So, either we can change the mechanical properties or maybe the thermal properties of those particular materials. We can change the thickness of the coating, structure means outer surface of the coating structure. We can increase the we can increase or decrease the surface roughness of these particular materials, or maybe we can change the outer properties of these particular materials by these conventional techniques. Next is that incorporation of microcapsules into coating quite important, so that microcapsules remain intact during coatings. So, whatever the coating materials we are trying to use, that kind of coating material simply we are putting onto the substrate itself, so that that coating or maybe the microcapsules materials will remain intact into the coating, so that it will give you the better properties. So, here there are several types of conventional coating techniques are adopted over here. Some is known as the compression coating. So, here it is known as the compression coating. By simple using the pressure we are compressing our substrate into the coating techniques. Then we are using some kind of dry coating, that means we are applying some kind of particles with maybe some heat or something like that, like spraying we are doing the coatings. Some kind of laminated coatings, that means structural coatings or maybe that layer by layer coatings we can do onto our substrate itself. Some kind of vacuum film coating, by applying the vacuum medium we can do the coating of our materials. Then we are doing the deep coating. So, simple we are putting our substrate or maybe that our materials into some chemical solutions, and like some kind of viscous materials, and like this we can do the coating onto the substrate itself. Some kind of electrostatic coatings also we can do for our materials or maybe the substrate. So, these all are the different types of conventional coatings generally we can adopt or maybe we are adopting in our day to day life. So, first one is known as the compression coating. So, here use of compression to form coat around the preformed core, used mainly to separate chemically incompatible materials, and then also dual release pattern possible. Compression coating is a dry process. So, simple in that particular case we are having some kind, it is an example. So, here we are putting some kind of dry probiotic bacteria, then we are having two molds, and then in between the two molds simply we are putting our coating materials. Then by applying the heat and applying the mechanical pressure we are pressing from the both sides, and then by these techniques we are doing the coating onto our materials or maybe onto our substrate. So, factors, it's the first one is called the polymer type, then the particle size of that particular polymers, and that core coat ratio, that how much area we are going to coat, and the compression force. So, it depends upon how much load generally we are providing from the top or maybe from the both sides. Depending upon that we can increase or decrease the thickness of our particular coating materials. Next one is called the electrostatic coating. It is a charged particles are employed to paint the workpiece. So, here from this particular figure you can understand that through these channels the powder or maybe the particles which we are going to coat onto a substrate, it is coming out over here. then through this gun we are pressurizing these nanoparticles onto the substrate itself, and then whatever the particle charge, the opposite charge simply we are employing onto our substrate itself. So through this charge particle, the same opposite particle it will come, then it will attract by this substrate itself and it will attach onto the top of that. So here like a paint, powder particles or maybe the atomized liquid is initially projected by spraying method and accelerated towards the conductive workpiece. So here the only small drawbacks is that whatever the material we are going to coat, it should be conductive, it should not be any insulator or maybe any kind of non-conductive materials. The thickness of the paint is directly proportional to the length of time the parts are left in the tank and the time of charge remain actives. So if this particle will be in the negative charge, it should be positive. So when this total positive or maybe the negative percentage will be filled up, then automatically the ion transfer or particle transfer will be stopped and your coating will be finished. Or maybe how much time we are keeping this one for a longer time, the coating thickness will be more. If the holding time will be less, then the we can observe the lesser thickness. Next one is called the deep coating. So deep coating refers to the immersing of a substrate into a tank containing coating materials, removing the piece from the tank and allowing it to the drain. It is the simple methods. So simple, we are having that substrate, which materials we are going to coat, we have to take into the solution formations, then simple we have to dip our materials into the solutions, we have to keep some time depending upon that whatever the coating thickness you want, then after certain time simple you have to take it out and finally you can find that you are having the substrate having the coating onto that material. So if you need by layer techniques, then several samples you have to put into the different solutions, or maybe if you want the more thickness, then again you have to dip these solution materials into the same solutions so that you can get a more thickness of your coating materials onto the substrate itself. Whatever the advantages of deep coating, provides protective shield that resists the corrosions, insulate against heat, cold, stress and the electrical currents, durable and ultraviolet resistant, wide range of thickness and the textures are available. So these kind of properties you can get by this type of coating. Next one is called the vacuum film coating. So vacuum depositions is a family of process used to deposit layers of material atom by atom or molecule by molecule on a solid surface. Process operates at pressure below atmospheric pressures. So generally we are doing into the vacuum conditions. Deposited layer thickness ranges from 1 atom up to the millimeter. So as I said already, depending upon the keeping time, depending upon the material quantity, depending upon the flow rate, you can change the coating thickness onto your material. So here this is known as the atmosphere conditions, this is known as the low vacuum conditions, this is known as the high vacuum conditions. So here the topmost is your object, this whole thing is a vacuum chamber, here the molecules of remaining gases, here it is the evaporated particles and this is the source. So what type of material you are going to coat, you have to put that materials as a source, then you have to put that whole things into the vacuum formations, you have to agitate that material so that ion will come from this particular source and then the ion will directly go. So here we are using some kind of gases which is nothing but the carrier gases, because if we do not put any kind of carrier gases, the ion will not come from one source to the another. So simple, these kind of carrier gases, it will allow that ion to come from the source and to deposit onto the substrate, just it will act as a helping hand for this ionization process. So here the blue particles, vapor, oxygen, nitrogen or maybe the carbon dioxide in the air, red particles is the materials of the film which we are going to coat onto the substrate itself. Next one is called the dry coating. So dry powder or some kind of dry or powder coating is a type of coating that is applied as a free flowing dry powder. Powder coating does not require a solvent to keep the binder and filler parts in a liquid suspension form, used to create a hard finish that is tougher than the conventional paint. Application in coating metals, household appliances, automobiles and bicycle parts. So simple, it is like that we are having some kind of powder or maybe the heap of the powder or maybe the heap of the nanoparticles. I am having the substrate, I have to hold that substrate onto the powder, maybe some kind of rolling actions or maybe some kind of sliding actions. Simply we are attaching this kind of dry powder onto the top of the substrate itself. So that is why you are not applying any kind of heat or maybe that powder is into the dry formations, that is why it is called the dry coating techniques. Next one is called the laminated coating. As I have already discussed that this kind of coatings is by the layer coatings onto the substrate itself. So, here from this particular case the laminated process microcapsules can be added to the glue formulations under the conditions that the microcapsules can withstand the lamination conditions. Glue formation preserves reactivity of the actual laminating. Procedures involve 2 component glues, non-compatible additives, slow release formations. So, here this is nothing but the extruder, it is having the hopper. In hopper you are putting the different materials, so that it is giving we are putting certain kind of temperature, because it is having different types of heating zone. So, by getting that heating zone, these materials in the pallet forms, it will melt it properly, then through this nozzle it will come like a film structure. Then we are having the substrate, on top of that it is giving a layer by layer techniques, it will give a coating onto the material. So, that is why it is called the laminated coatings by these conventional methods. Then come to the advantages of the micro encapsulations, because the main aim of our this lecture is that what is the micro encapsulations and what are the advantage of micro encapsulations over these conventional techniques. So, first is that microorganisms and the enzyme immobilizations. Enzyme encapsulated in cheeses accelerate ripening and flavor development. The encapsulated enzymes are protected from low pH and the high ionic strength. So, this is also one advantage for these micro encapsulations. Next one is that masking of taste and the odors, convert liquid to solid form and to mask the core taste. So, by changing the outer properties you can change the material properties, you can change the taste of these particular materials. Like aspirin can cause peptic ulcers and bleeding if all is introduced at once, and thus they are compressed to gradually release. So, when we are taking the medicine as a aspirin, we are keeping these materials slowly so that slowly it will decompose into our stomach, so that it can act properly. Not only that, if it will release in a high rate, so maybe some kind of peptic ulcers or bleeding can be occurred into our stomach itself. Next, reducing the reactivity of core in relation to the outside environment, allows mixing of incompatible compounds, decreased evaporation rate of core materials, increased bioavailability, improved processing, texture and less wastage of the materials. So, these all are the added advantage for this kind of micro encapsulations. Here also it is into the broad spectrum, we are showing that what are the main advantages over the conventional methods. First one is that micro encapsulated ingredients do not interfere with other ingredients, that is the beauty of this kind of techniques. It is one kind of like a targeted outcomes of this kind of materials. Consumers are unable to test the added capsules. Wider range of specific products for consumers to choose from. Micro encapsulated ingredients can be added at any time in the processing and remains unaltered. Shelf life may be increased, sensory properties remain unaltered, food products have increased nutritional and health benefits. Actually, the main advantage of these micro capsules that it can be used widely for the biomedical applications, food packaging applications, food applications, or maybe some kind of medical applications. So, what are the applications of the micro encapsulations? Waste management treatment, electronics purpose, medicine, pharmaceutical, biotech purpose, veterinary, food and feed purpose, chemical industry, agriculture, household and personal care, textiles, photography, graphics and printing. So, this is the very least properties we have mentioned over here, but still the applications are more. So, what are the summary of this particular lecture? Various types of conventional coatings were discussed, like deep dry and the electrostatic process. So, these all are the conventional methods. Micro encapsulations has many advantages compared to the conventional methods. Micro encapsulated ingredients do not interface with other ingredients, that is the added advantage for this micro encapsulations. Shelf life of these ingredients is increased, we can increase or decrease the shelf life of these particular materials. The technology uses smart materials which enhances the properties of material. It is mainly used in drug delivery systems and in textile industries. It has promising applications in skin care like a biomedical applications, household equipment, waste management, food industry for food packaging, or maybe that conservation of the food technology. Microencapsulated food products have increased nutritional and health benefits. So, by incorporating different type of microencapsules having different properties, we can enhance the food odor, or maybe that food taste, or maybe some kind of other techniques, or maybe that other properties. Thank you.